So welcome back everyone with some more post-tournament action. After advancing past the first two rounds, what you'll be watching in this video is the semi-finals of me versus BTD Blaze It, who is better known as the Leafy of Bloons. As much as he'd like to deny that, there's no denying the cold hard truth. So yes, Blaze's name is pray to our Jesus because as we all know card battles requires no skill and relies entirely on the RNG system to determine the winner, so Blaze changed his name to increase his chances of that. So far it doesn't look like it's working though, since we both realize no lives lost is important, and as such both sides are staying at a full 150, and if this keeps up then it's looking like this game will be a draw. Speaking of draws, I believe there was a rule implemented while the tournament was running concerning draws on the starting map, since apparently nobody even thought about that possible scenario before then, lol. I guess they didn't realize how easy it was to try for no lives lost while still getting insane eco until this strategy was unveiled to the world. But yeah, normally the rule for draws is the previous person who lost picks the next map. But since Game 1 means nobody has won yet, Bruno and Lucky decided it would be best for Game 1 draws to go to the ever-so-popular Ink Block map for Game 2, to prevent another such draw from happening, I suppose, since that map is about on par with Hydro Dam in terms of difficulty. With that said, you may or may not see an Ink Block game depending on how this game turns out. Alright, so now's a good time to talk about the Medallion giveaway, where all participants in the tourney get a set amount of medallions to give to their viewers, and a higher amount for those who finished in the top 4. Again, if you don't want any spoilers on the games, just skip or mute the next 15 seconds, or better yet mute the whole commentary, cause there's probably going to be a part where I slip up and don't mention it. And just like last time, I will host the giveaway on Reddit, for multiple reasons. The biggest one being it's super easy to pick X winners out of a hat, because I can just sort the comments by random and pick the top few that show up. Compare that with YouTube, which doesn't have that feature, meaning I'm gonna need to use some third-party sources to pick winners, and that requires more effort. And you also know how I've been pushing to get this subreddit off the ground for a while now. Frankly, I can't single-handedly do that on my own, but every little piece of promotion on my part helps. So if you haven't already, check out the sub, which I'll link in the description, and comment on the post I have about the giveaway there for a chance to win. Back to the game, and just like I told you, it's looking like this is going round 38. Intense and amazing are the only words I can use to describe this game, Kappa. Honestly though, this was quite the resident sleeper matchup until these ZOMG sends by Blaze, which ain't gonna do anything to me because look at all that money I have at my disposal. That said, I do want to address some of the issues about cards that were brought up from other people who watched the tournament, and I'd sort of have to agree with them on that. For one, if you play the deck perfectly, the strategy me and Tyler had come up with is able to defend basically any rush, and I think at this point Blaze knew that and as such didn't bother to rush me all game until round 30. And you know what this leads to? Really boring and stale games. I'm sure you'd fall asleep by game 2 if every game by me and Blaze played out this way, so luckily we have a short map in Ink Blood where you can't use my typical strat. But as I was saying, right now it seems the laser cannon is too strong for how much it costs, because that's the card that is enabling this insane eco strategy in the mid-game. It's not really the early game that is the problem. On average I get about 520 eco plus a 2-0 farm before my laser cannon, and that seems pretty normal to me. But if you can just go full eco from round 13 till 19 with just the laser cannon and support towers, then there's definitely a problem. And again, that either lies in the fact that the laser cannon is too OP or that mid-game rushes aren't powerful enough, so hopefully the Ninja Kiwi team can either buff some of those weak cards, which there are a lot of, or create veteran cards that aren't completely useless like 80% of them are right now. God forbid they keep doing that and add even more fuel to the fire. So I think it's time to stop complaining now, since that's not what I was wanting this video to be, but I couldn't help myself, cause what else am I going to say when you have a long-ass game with no action in it? Well, at least now I can discuss the short map deck I came up with for this tournament, and it isn't much different from the deck I showed you in the short map video. I still got my fair share of rushing cards like the Spike Factory Zebras and Golden Shark Moab, but I still have to keep a boatload of early game towers around so that I don't pull a hard in on the game against Tyler on Hydro Dam, Kappa. So yeah, I think that's all I got to say for this one. Keep watching to see who will come out victorious, or if you watched it all live on Saturday, then maybe you can relive some of the moments in the YouTube chat. And again, I'll have another tournament video after this on either the finals or the bronze match, so if you want to see that, then like and sub to get the scoop on that. Have a blazed day.